predict all 131 teams this college football offseason. Now we're moving on to the ACC champions from a season ago, the Pittsburgh Panthers. Again, much like Wake Forest, the video I uploaded earlier today, a pretty solid surprise in 2021 last season, and a very good football team from a season ago. Made a New Year's Six game as the ACC champion, and a lot of things were going for Pitt last year. They had the Biletnikoff winner. However, this team is losing said Biletnikoff winner along with a first-round NFL quarterback, the names of which I'm going to remind you of in a second in case you've forgotten. But this is the Pitt team that did fairly well in the transfer portal with some names that you might have forgotten about or you might not know, but you will know in time. So can Pitt challenge again for the ACC crown in 2022? Or is this the year the Pittsburgh Panthers, after losing all that talent, maybe regress and take a step back? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 131 teams this college football offseason. Guys, that means I'm doing your favorite teams. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. And to fans of Pitt out there, you guys are going to know this team a lot better than me. And just in general, you guys are going to know your favorite team a lot more than me. So if you feel like I missed something, you want to have something to add on to the video, anything of the sort, leave that in the comment section down below, and I'd be happy to hear what you guys have to say. So let's move on now. Pitt football in 2022. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is my 4th ranked team in the ACC coming into the 2022 college football season. And again, the reigning ACC champions here as well. Went 11-3 last year, 8-1 in conference. That does include the win in the ACC championship game. And barely lost their New Year's Six Bowl to Michigan State, a game-sealing pick six. Of course, Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, the first-round talent, who's, again, I'll talk more about here in a little bit, did not play in that game. When you look at some stats from Pitt last year, this was a very good football team all around. Almost 490 yards per game with around 41.5 points per game. And on the defensive end here as well, 348 yards per game with around 23 points per game. Had the best rush defense actually in the ACC a year ago as well. Looking at some talent that this Pittsburgh Panther team is losing, well, something you won't see here in leaving, transferring out, but they are losing their offensive coordinator. You got to replace him. Mark Whipple, I believe, went over to be the offensive coordinator at Nebraska. So you are losing that offensive coordinator. Definitely a coach that you're going to have to fill in, especially considering how good this Pitt offense was a season ago. And they're losing a lot of that production. Davis Beville, a quarterback, is gone. But the main quarterback that you got to be concerned about that's gone is Kenny Pickett, a Heisman finalist from a season ago. The first quarterback off the board in this past April's NFL draft. Listen to this stat line: 4,319 yards, 42 touchdowns, 7 picks with a 67 completion percentage. Really good stuff from Kenny Pickett a season ago. And while Kenny Pickett's gone too, surprisingly, the Biletnikoff winner also went out of town. 100 catches, 1,593 yards, and 17 touchdowns for Jordan Addison a season ago. But they're also losing some other talent in that position. Taysir Mack, Melky Stovall, Jacques Louis, and Lucas Kroll at the tight end position are all guys that are leaving there as well. On the defensive side, lots of linebackers gone. Phil Campbell, Chase Pine, Wendell Davis, Cam Bright, John Patrician. Patrician was the second leading tackler. Also had 4.5 sacks from a season ago. Phil Campbell, same thing, 4.5 sacks. Cam Bright, 3.5 sacks. Both Campbell and Bright had a pick there as well. John Patrician had 3 of them. That led the team. And then Damari Mathis in the defensive back group gone as well. Had 5 passes defended with 2 interceptions and a pick 6 a season ago for the Pittsburgh Panthers. So there is a lot of talent losing. Definitely a lot of more eye-popping talent gone off of the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side of the ball, that's for sure. However, this team did fairly well in the transfer portal. Keaton Slovis, remember that name? Over from USC here in the portal as Jordan Addison transferred to USC. Keaton Slovis came over to Pitt from USC. So Keaton Slovis coming in for this Pitt team. I don't know if he's going to be able to fully replace the production of Kenny Pickett, but that's still a solid, really, really good pickup for the Pittsburgh Panthers. At running back, well, you got your 2 leading rushers back from a season ago. Vincent Davis had 4 touchdowns with almost 600 yards, and I promise you I will butcher this name, and again, I apologize for any mispronunciations. Israel Abanikanda had 651 yards and 7 touchdowns a season ago. Should figure to be that premier back, although Vincent Davis got more carries a season ago. Abanikanda had the better average, thus led to more yards and had more touchdowns for this team as well. They do, with a lot of that wide receiver talent leaving, they do return Jared Wayne, who had 658 yards and 6 touchdowns, as well as Gavin Bartholomew at the tight end. But a name that you may not have heard before, and a name that I think you guys are going to know by the end of this season, if not maybe 3 games into the season. Kanata Mupfield is a transfer over from Akron, was all-conference, I believe an all-freshman wide receiver in the Mid-American Conference last year, put up some pretty good numbers, and that's a name that not a lot of people I think are going to be familiar about, that you got to know, because Kanata Mupfield could prove to be a guy that turns this Pitt team from a 7 or 8 win team to a 9-win team. It absolutely can happen. Kanata Mupfield is that kind of talent. They also have Carter Warren among their entire offensive line back for this team. And they have a lot back on the defensive side as well. Cansey, Baldonado. Baldonado was the sack leader with 9 sacks a season ago. Cansey had 7. Alexander back as well. Servasia Dennis, Shane Simon back at the linebacking position. And then lots of defensive backs that I am a big fan of. Eric Hallett, Brandon Hill, and MJ Devonshire. A couple guys, you can name some more that are coming back for this Pitt team as well. But lots of guys I like returning for this team. And I'm not really hearing, well, you're hearing Pitt can contend for the ACC and everything like that. But I still think that this Pitt talent may be being underhyped just a little bit as we take a look at the schedule for the Pittsburgh Panthers, and 2 real interesting non-conference games. The Backyard Brawl is back. These 2 schools about an hour away. It's going to be played in Pittsburgh this year. Man, am I excited to watch this game. West Virginia, an interesting team in and of themselves. They have JT Daniels coming in, who just hasn't been able to find it in his college career among injury problems that he has had as well. So definitely going to be interesting to see how West Virginia does this year. Another home game, interesting in non-conference against Tennessee. The Volunteers figured to be pretty good this season. That's going to be an interesting game to watch. Other non-conference games on the road against Western Michigan and at home against Rhode Island. When you look at the conference play here, you got a home game against Georgia Tech, a home game against Virginia Tech, also home games against Syracuse and Duke. Then you got to go on the road to play Louisville, North Carolina, Virginia, and that final game on the road against Miami. So let's dive a little bit deeper on this Pitt schedule again. I'll say it again, but West Virginia bringing in JT Daniels to be that quarterback. Lots of other talent coming back. And I know West Virginia fans like what they see from this team, but I do think Pitt has more talent here on this team, on this Pitt team. Not necessarily compared to last year, just in my opinion. I think they're a bit more talented compared to West Virginia. However, when you look at that game, look, there's a lot of passion, a lot of hatred that goes into that game, and I get it. I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm part of one of those rivalries too. But this is a very, very interesting game, right? This is a very interesting game. Can't wait to watch it. Same thing with the Tennessee game. Tennessee returns Hendon Hooker, a lot of other playmakers on both sides of the ball there as well. It's a Tennessee team you got to watch out for. And I don't think you should take Western Michigan lightly on the road either. I think that could be maybe a slightly tricky game here for Pitt. Once you get into conference play, I think there are a lot of landmines. You avoid Clemson. You avoid NC State. You avoid Wake Forest. You avoid the 3 teams that could contend for that ACC championship in the Atlantic Division. But when you look at some of the games here, I think Virginia Tech, even though the game is at home, don't take that team lightly. Yeah, there are a lot of question marks about the Hokies coming into that year. Still, never a team to take lightly on the road against Louisville, on the road against North Carolina. Couple tricky games there on the road. They do have the bye week before that stretch, but that's definitely going to be a tricky couple games right there. Malik Cunningham coming back for Louisville. Quarterback situation needing to get figured out a little bit for North Carolina. And then you have a couple teams I think are going to be feisty and a couple teams that are going to fight. At home against Syracuse, that's an Orange team that I think is going to have a lot of fight in them. On the road against Virginia, we'll see what they look like under Tony Elliott, the former Clemson offensive coordinator. We know how good Clemson offenses have been in the past, not necessarily last year. And then that final game, the one that's really popping out to me on the schedule, is that final game on the road at Miami. Miami projects to be pretty good, and that's a game that could decide who plays for the ACC championship. I don't do game-by-game predictions do more percentage-based I like to only predict the team's records of the games in red. Don't necessarily see you winning the games in orange. I still don't see you winning, but hey, it's college football and upsets can happen. Yellow are your 50-50 or high upset potential games. Games in yellow-green are games that you probably should win, but watch out for the team on the other side of the ball, and games in green are games that you should probably win. So, 4 games in that dark green. I have Syracuse, Duke, Georgia Tech, and Rhode Island. Although I think that Syracuse team is going to fight, I don't see Pitt losing any of those 4 games. Again, West Virginia. I am going to favor Pitt there in that game. I do think Pitt has the better shot to win with that game being at home for Pitt, and I know the schools are only about an hour away. But man, am I excited to watch that game, that home game against Tennessee as well. In my opinion, I do think Pitt is going to lose one of those non-conference games. I think more likely than not, it's the game against Tennessee. And Tennessee, the line's already out. They're the favorite in that game. So again, more likely that Pitt loses to Tennessee than West Virginia, although I could see the latter happening, but I think Pitt splits those 2 non-conference games. And then when you look at the rest of their schedule, the road game against Louisville is interesting. The road game against North Carolina, very interesting. But again, that game against Miami at the end of the year, I think very well could determine if these 2 teams have similar records going in, which I think is absolutely more than likely of a possibility, especially if they are separated by only a game or maybe tied in conference play. That could be a game right there that decides who goes and plays for the ACC championship, and I think that's going to be a very, very fun game. I maybe am having a slight lean towards Miami. They have Mario Cristobal coming in as that head coach. Miami's definitely going to be an interesting team to watch, but when you look at this schedule here, I think they split those 2 non-conference games at the beginning of the season. More likely than not, I think that loss will end up to be to Tennessee. And then when you get into conference play here, I think Pitt is yet again going to be competitive, and I think can push for that ACC title. I have the Pittsburgh Panthers going 9-3 in 2022. I think a lot of people are still underrating this team, even after what they did last season, because again, the big names are going to pop out at you, right? Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison, they're gone. Whoa, this Pitt team doesn't have a shot. They returned their whole offensive line, a lot of their defensive front, a lot of solid players coming in through the transfer portal as well. This is a Pitt team that I still really, really like coming into this season. That ceiling being 11-1, I do see them dropping a game somewhere along this schedule. Although Pitt, maybe if you want to push it, has the talent to go undefeated, and that floor I think is 7-5. So that's going to do it for my video on the Pittsburgh Panthers going into 2022. I think this is a team that can contend in their division in the ACC, but again, it all depends on that game against Miami. And sorry, Pitt fans, but I am going to slightly lean towards Miami in that game. I think Miami's got a lot of talent coming in here to this season, and that could very well be the game that decides who wins the ACC Coastal. So again, thank you guys so much for watching my video on the Pittsburgh Panthers. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, anything you can to help support the channel. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.